Hello everyone, I am Julian Morris with the Channel 5 News. In the headlines, the Builders and Contractors Association calls for a Contractor Registration Act. Trade union WOW wants companies to consider post-disaster financial packages for employees. And the Guyana Jaguars back on top while the Jamaica Scorpions make their fourth straight win in Super 50 cricket. The details of the news coming up.
M&J Covering is the producer of designed galvanized and galvalume in Dominica. They design to your specifications, color and length, 4 styles of galvanized and galvalume pre-painted roofing sheets as requested, and supply all your galvalume accessories. M&J Covering helps you control spending and reduce waste. At M&J Covering, they are also equipped to build your roof to precise standards anywhere on island. So come to M&J Covering at 1 Mile in Portsmouth or call 445-5001 275-5003 today.
First up in the news, the president of the Builders and Contractors Association believes it's high time that Dominica has a Contractors Registration Act.
The comment was made against the backdrop of concerns that people who claim to be contractors gain employment, whereas the certified contractors miss out on such opportunities. Given the high demand for these skilled laborers post-Maria, a Contractors Registration Act would ensure that there is a national registry of certified builders and contractors.
The only form of registry there is thus far is the contractors who are registered with BCAD. BCAD would have a list of persons who are registered with BCAD. So we can say they are, and would have some additional information about that contractor. So we can say that that person, yes, is registered, and that person have on record a profile that says that they have done this kind of work or this type of work. Beyond that, there is no registration system for contractors. In order to have one that is enforceable by law, we need to have a Contractors Registration Act, which we don't have in Dominica.
While supporting the idea of a Contractors Registration Act, Leblanc laments that it may take a while to get such an act on the books.
I think it's time we have this act in Dominica, but I'm not sure if our parliamentarians or government is ready for that. Given the time it takes to fix up the Architect Act since 2012 and to amend the Engineers Act since 2006, I'm not sure that our government or politicians or parliamentarians are ready for that.
Leblanc says that the Builders and Contractors Association is taking steps to bolster its registry to help the public obtain certified skilled individuals for construction and repair jobs.
We're trying to do that. We're trying to get that on, but as it is, it's voluntary. There's 2 things that can drive it. The law and the people who use contractors. If you want a contractor and you decide that I will only use those who are registered, that gives me a sense that they are responsible, that they know what they're about, and they have peer pressure, they have colleagues who will help them be better, and also to reprimand them if they don't behave well, if they don't move on and do what they expected to do for their clients. That can drive a registry. But failing those 2, it depends on the goodwill of the contractor to have himself registered.
In more news now, Parliament is expected to play a key role in ratifying government's proposed Climate Resilient Executing Agency of Dominica CREAD.
Prime Minister Skerrit says before Parliament meets to table the motion for the creation of the agency, Cabinet would first have to approve the proposal.
We will first take an executive decision with the CREAD, and within 6 weeks of that ratification by the Cabinet, we'll go to Parliament to get parliamentary approval of the CREAD. We are going to start the recruitment of staff, of a CEO for the CREAD and for staffing. So very soon we will be putting advertisement out and soliciting applications for various positions within the CREED.
Government is currently finalizing several public sector strategies with a climate resilient view in preparation for the role of CREED.
We're finalizing our housing strategy. We're finalizing our agricultural strategy and plan. We're finalizing our water resource management strategy and plan. We're finalizing our infrastructural strategy and plan, and also our health and education strategy and plan. So we're finalizing this. We are being supported by our external partners. They've been providing technical assistance to us. And I believe in the next couple of weeks, the Cabinet will ratify those important plans and so on.
Mr. Skerritt said in a previous public statement that CREED has been receiving extraordinary support from donors, including UK's DFID, which has assigned a consultant to help define the agency and its role. He first articulated his vision to the international community for Dominica to become the first climate-resilient country at the CARICOM United Nations-led pledging conference in New York last November. Skerritt anticipates further support when he attends a Clinton Foundation conference in a few months.
President Clinton will be hosting a conference in Miami in April, where he will bring a wide cross-section of the corporate world to Miami, governments, NGOs, and to speak about specific actions which individual corporations and NGOs and entities could take to assist country like Dominica in its rebuilding efforts. But I want to say to Dominican people, as you heard President Clinton indicate, that the attention which we're receiving as a country, it is not really because of the hurricane. It is because of the articulated vision of the government to build the world's first climate resilient nation. Having articulated that vision, we're seeking to get the entire Caribbean community to adopt this vision and mission, to make the Caribbean the world's first climate resilient nation, or region, in the world. And there is tremendous appetite for it out there. People will not give you money if you are not going to speak about resilience, if you're not going to speak about adaptation, if you're not going to talk about building back better.
And in related news, Parliamentary Opposition Leader Lennox Linton says the opposition is still out of the loop on what the role of CREED will be.
Opposition Leader Lennox Linton said while the establishment of a climate-resilient executing agency sounds like an excellent idea, he has expressed reservations about the approach to its creation.
The same people who were ridiculing me in the Parliament, their leader stood in New York and spoke about the necessity of parliamentary oversight in real time for the operations of the CREED. But where is the CREED? If you're going to have parliamentary oversight in real time, your parliament must meet. We have had 3 meetings of the parliament for the whole year, one of which was that meeting on October the 7th to extend the state of emergency. And that was the only post-Maria item on the agenda for the parliament, nothing else. We're talking about CREED and parliamentary oversight for CREED. But CREED is going to be formed and we're still not meeting. The parliament is not even going to discuss CREED before it is formed. And I'm not sure whether CREED is going to replace the government, many of whom have significant responsibility under the climate resilient development agenda.
Linton believes government missed a previous opportunity to implement an existing low-carbon climate-resilient development strategy of 2012 to 2020.
This government had a climate-resilient strategy, a low-carbon climate-resilient strategy developed in 2011. The strategy emerged in 2012. 2015. An update on where the country was with that strategy told us that elements of the strategy were incorporated into the manifesto of the Labour Party for the 2014 elections, but we didn't see much else. There was a lot of work that was supposed to be done under that strategy. One of them was the introduction of legislation that would facilitate the formation of a council that would be responsible for implementation of the strategy. You will not hear anything that we claim needs to be done urgently, that is not in the strategy. So what did we do for 5 years?
Linton suggests government could have used funds from its Citizenship by Investment program to implement some climate-resilient measures.
So the complaint now that we didn't have enough money, or we didn't get enough money from the world community, there was not enough funding for this or for that. We have never seen more money in the coffers of government than we saw in the last 2 years. $279 million from the sale of passports in 2015-2016, $507 million from the sale of passports in 2016-2017, over $780 million through 2 financial years, the last 2 financial years, and not any significant amount of that or any amount of it at all committed to our own low-carbon climate resilient strategy. So what is CREED going to do now?
In more top stories now, the Waterfront and Allied Workers Union is advocating for employers to offer a financial package to their employees in the advent of a disaster. The trade union's leader, Curtis Augustus, was at the time referring to action by management of Dominica Brewery and Beverages Limited to grant its staff a stipend following Hurricane Maria last September.
I would say that Kubuli have in fact made its own mark in Dominica in relation to the way that they treat their staff. I think that Kubuli is setting the standard for others hopefully to follow. Although we are not seeing that, and we would like to be in a position when we are in discussions with the others to say, why don't you do like Kubuli? They will tell us, of course, all sorts of reasons why they can't, but at least we would put that position before them so that that could help in terms of making life easy for the workers of this country.
Unlike several businesses which resorted to layoff and redundancies after Hurricane Maria, citing the impact of looting as a driving factor, the DBBL management retained all employees. Augustus said WOW was relieved given that the company's brewery at Loubier was destroyed and staff had to be relocated.
I made a call to Ms. Helen Thomas, where I was going to indicate to her my disappointment at the fact that they were down and never made any effort to contact us, but at the same time congratulating them for what they have done in terms of each individual member of staff, in terms of a sum of money that was given to them. So that, in fact, have helped them to cushion the impact of Hurricane Maria when they indicated that staff would not lose their jobs as a result of the destruction of the factory. And that was welcome news by the Waterfront and Allied Workers Union. There was, in fact, a team from management that came down and had a further discussion with the staff and provided some goodies for the staff.
In more news now, the UNDP Dominica project is taking a model roof displayed during Carnival Parade this year to hardware stores in Roseau and Portsmouth. The idea is to interact with the public as they view the model roof and ask questions. The UNDP team started the display at E.H. Charles on Thursday. It will continue at M&R Trading and Rudolph Thomas in Portsmouth on Saturday. The Engineers Without Borders are focused on roofing standards with the theme 24 gauge, don't nail it, screw it.
The main reason it should be screwed down is if you nail it down, the winds are going to pull up and it's going to pull a nail right out. The screws with threads, when they bite into the wood, they hold tight. The worst wind loads are going to be at your front eave and at your top ridge. So we recommend the screws be at every peak, every 3 inches on the eave and on the ridge. Start out on this, if we can go down here, side of the house. We start out every 3 inches because the wind is going to be strongest on the edges, and then go to 6 inches in the field. Typically here in Dominica, we've seen people make their eaves 18 inches or so out to get shade. Too far out, the wind comes up under it, picks it right up. We recommend nothing greater than 12 inches for your eaves, It still protects your windows, it still protects your doors, and it gives less area for the wind to pick up on. The thinner gauge metal, 26 gauge, 28 gauge, very thin, almost like aluminum foil, when the hurricane comes, because it's so thin, it pulls right out and the screws or nails stay. If you're a stronger gauge, the wind's going to pull up and it's going to resist that wind. So heavier gauge, much better.
Since its arrival to lend support to the early recovery efforts, UNDP has supported the updating of the National Building Guidelines. This was done following extensive consultation with construction professionals and the Physical Planning Division. This document is awaiting final approval by Cabinet. UNDP, in conjunction with Electricians Without Borders, has also conducted training for over 400 builders. And 4 Jackal parrots, which were successfully rehabilitated post-Hurricane Maria, have been released into the wild.
The International Fund for Animal Welfare, I4, was recently on island to supervise the release of the birds following months of rehabilitation at the Parrot Conservation and Research Center in the Botanic Gardens. After Hurricane Maria, several injured wildlife, especially the native parrots, were brought into the Forestry Division for treatment purposes. Animal Rescue Disaster Response Manager with I4, Shannon Wallitis, says examinations by her team deemed 4 parrots ready for release into the wild.
Fortunately, we were able to come back. IFA came back this last week, and we've had the pleasure of being able to work with the staff, to include Mr. Stephen Durant as manager, to assess and determine that 4 of the Jackal parrots were ready for release back to the wild. And in order to determine that, we performed full medical exams. We also determined that not only is their strength ready, their nutritional, just their body is healthy and ready to be back out in the wild. And we put a metal band on their left leg so that we can continue to track these birds. This is the first time that the Division of Forestry has supported such a big initiative to get such a large number of wild animals back out into the wild when they're ready and when the environment is ready. So we're really proud to be a part of it.
You mentioned 4 have been released so far. What is the condition of the others?
Well, out of the remaining birds that are in rehabilitation, unfortunately, the tail feathers are a very important part of survival in the wild. They steer. So we definitely need to have very good, strong tail feathers with no stress marks on those feathers. So during the exam, it was determined that the remaining birds needed a molting cycle in which to repair the damaged tail feathers. So we're hopeful, from seeing that one of our resident parrots here at the center started molting 2 days ago, we're hopeful that the rehabilitation birds will start that molting process.
The 4 Jackal parrots were released in Salisbury Heights last week, and Wallitis says surveys were conducted in the forests to ensure that it was safe to release the birds into their natural habitat.
Really, it's site-specific. So the assessment that was performed here on Dominica was performed by the experts who know your forest better than anyone, the Division of Forestry. So we collaborated with them to go into the wild to see. We're looking for not only foraging sites or food sources, we're looking at what the parrots are doing now, which is actually turning to different types of foods, which we're thrilled about, to have them looking for alternate sources. We also look for the damage done to the trees that they use for nesting and roosting. The hurricane whipped off, as you know, the tops of everything. So the canopies are gone in the rainforest. The canopies that not only provide shelter from the elements, but safety, security. They need to feel safe in those nesting boxes or those nesting sites. But we're just seeing that the growth is coming back. We're optimistic because the growth is coming from trees that truly you might think were dead, and not able to come back, but they are. And we're just thrilled to see the progress.
A total of 12 Jackal parrots had been brought in for rehabilitation. 8 remain at the Parrot Conservation and Research Center. Andrea Louis, Channel 5 News.
The 2018 Kaiso monarch, Daryl the Bob believes his dedication to the art form has paid off, with him winning the coveted crown this year. Bob beat 8-time Kaiser Monarch Denison Dice Joseph and 2017 Monarch Gregory Caressa Riviere to take the top spot. Bob says while Saturday's win seemed long in coming, his commitment through thick and thin for nearly 2 decades was worth it.
And that 17 years, it's like I spent 17 years in a university. The things that I've learned, I would not have learned it in 4 years in a university, because I've learned how to deal with people, how to appeal to people, how to take people's stress, how to take people's bad words. And it has just made me a much stronger person at the end of the day.
As new Kaiser Monarch, Bob says he now finds himself in an interesting place in his singing career. He says just when he was contemplating hanging up the proverbial hat, he has no choice now but to approach Calypso with renewed determination.
Just when I was thinking of actually giving it a break, because I felt the system didn't want me. And I know it seems like I'm trapped now. I'm wearing a crown now and I have a strong responsibility on my shoulders. And I want to extend that to the nation. I want to work with government. I want to work with all agencies to move culture forward in Dominica. And beginning with Calypso, you know, and for the youth.
Like politics, Calypso can be very controversial, and Bob says too often the artist is labeled because of the message in a song, which traditionally carry the sentiments of the masses.
We have to understand that the art form is expression, and there's a vast difference between the whole politics of the day and expression itself. Let the artist sing about anything he feels, as long as he can craft it properly and he does not necessarily insult anyone. He may offend people, but he does not necessarily insult anyone, and he's speaking for the masses. So that you have to understand and cut the artist some slack. Don't label him in any one way. And I really wish that we would see it that way and not think that I am anyway sided or anything.
Bob says his focus now is to keep working as his stars are turning around. This is Channel 5 News. Coming up next, Kenny Williams with the latest sports highlights.
Rudolph Thomas Enterprise in Portsmouth, your suppliers of building materials and hardware products. Over 20 years experience in the business. Rudolph Thomas has lumber and plywood, galvanized and fence pipe. Check out Rudolph Thomas for ceramic and vinyl floor and wall tiles, nails, nuts and bolts, paint and painting supplies. And check out their line of electrical and hand tools. Go now to Rudolph Thomas on 1240 Bay Street in Portsmouth.
When persons with TB sneeze or cough, healthy persons nearby breathe in the droplets and the bacteria can lodge in their lungs. People with weakened immune systems such as HIV/AIDS, alcohol and drug users, smokers, children, and the elderly are most susceptible. Persons with a cough should take precautions when in contact with persons in public places. Cover your mouth when sneezing and coughing. Visit your doctor or health center. You must complete your treatment. TB can be cured even with HIV. Be responsible. Help stop the spread of TB and HIV. Protect yourself and others.
First up in sports, Guyana Jaguars climbed back to the top in Group B, while Jamaica Scorpions recorded their 4th straight win as the race to the top continued in the Super 50 Cup on Wednesday. We begin with Leeward Islands Hurricanes versus Jaguars, where batting first, Leeward scored 216 for the loss of 8 wickets. Devon Thomas was the pick of the batsmen with an undefeated century to score 103 not out. The Leeward's batsman who was closest to his score was Akil Jose's 23 not out. Devendra Bishu picked up 3 for 35, while Romario Shepherd took 3 for 40. Set to 17 to win, Guyana equaled the target in 47.1 overs, having lost 5 wickets. However, Leewards did not go down without a fight. Compliments 4 wickets for 37 runs from Terence Ward. Jaguars won by 5 wickets with 17 balls remaining. Meantime, Jamaica Scorpions defeated Kent Combined Campuses and Colleges by 3 wickets with 5 balls to spare. Sent in to bat, Kent scored 239 for 5. Daniel Bell Drummond came in with an undefeated century of 105 not out. Adam Roos also rose to the occasion with an undefeated 75. Set a likely target of 240, Jamaica equaled the mark after having lost 7 wickets. With a well-deserved 108 not out, Andre Russell, fresh from a 1-year ban,
proved that he still has what it takes to play the game. Brandon King added 43 to help lift Jamaica's total. Joe Denley picked up 3 wickets for Kent. And taking a look at the point standings after Wednesday's play, we can tell you that Barbados Pride topped Zone A with 6 wins from 7 games with 27 points. Red Force followed with 22 points, then Windward's Volcanoes 13. Guyana Jaguars topped Zone B with 5 wins under its belt and 22 points. Jamaica Scorpions was next with 19 points, while Kent Combined Campuses and Colleges trail on 17 points with 4 wins in line with Jamaica Scorpions. In football, teams will be looking to move up the points table when the third week of games gets underway in the DFA Flow Nations Cup with 8 matches this weekend. On Saturday, the Trafalgar and Gawley football clubs will be playing their first game in the competition, carded for Windsor Park Sports Stadium. Over at Castle Bruce Playing Field, LA Stars will be hoping to get their first win for the league when they come up against Kalinago Football Club, who has had similar luck in the competition. At Benjamin's Park, Exodus Football Club will be hoping to capitalize on their game against the struggling Skerritt Northeast, who is yet to pick up a win in the tournament. And at Dublin Playing Field, Boston Warner will go head-to-head with Belfast Estate Mao Soca Strikers. The action passes on to Sunday, where Petro Caribe Point Michel will go head-to-head with Promex Harlem United, both in their first game of the league at Windsor Park Sports Stadium. Sagicor Southeast will be looking to bring their number of wins to 3 when they take on RC Doctors at Lapland Playing Field, who also has 2 wins so far. Northern Concrete and Steel Bombers will play host to Central Cooperative Credit Union Dublin Football Club at Benjamin's Park. Finally, at Castle Bruce Playing Field, East Central will take on We United Football Club. RC Doctors, Dublin FC and Sagicor Southeast each have 3 wins under their belt. We United, Mao Soca Strikers and Northern Concrete and Steel Bombers each have 1 win. Neither Kalinago FC, East Central, LA Stars nor Skerritt Northeast have any wins so far. That's all the sporting highlights for now. I am Kenny Williams. Join us next time.
Do you need more cash for that home improvement? Then come to Fast Cash, where we give you more. At Fast Cash, our customers get more funds and more time to repay. But wait, can't come to us? We'll come to you, and our mobile officer will get you on your way. Small businesses, consumers, and taxi owners, Fast Cash has more for everyone. Simply call or visit any of our locations for more. Smarter, faster, better. Fast Cash. Terms and conditions apply.
To end the news, a look again at the headlines. The Builders and Contractors Association calls for a Contractor Registration Act. Trade union WOW wants companies to consider post-disaster financial packages for employees. And Guyana Jaguars back on top, while the Jamaica Scorpions make their 4th straight win in Super 50 cricket. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Julian Morris, thanking you for watching. Join us again tomorrow.